Thailand BOI has signed various MOUs with Japanese banks, especially with mega banks like BTMU and SMBC. This slide shows that based on those MOUs, BOI and we held joint investment seminars for Thailand almost every year with many potential interested participants. Like we did here for Thailand, Japanese banks and other organizers will collaborate with an investment agent such as BOI to promote investment into India by introducing potential investors to liaison offices in Japan and holding periodical seminars as well. On the next two slides, let me share Thailand's unique incentive scheme to promote FDI. In Thailand, several incentives were given to IPO. It's different from IPO in a the share market. This IPO stands for International Procurement Office. The definition of IPO is the entity which has function to procure materials and partly finished product from overseas and Thailand. IPO purchases raw materials and parts from domestic and overseas suppliers and sells those to domestic and overseas manufacturers. A manufacturer who wants to invest in the country but is not large enough and does not have ample resources can establish IPO instead of building a full-fledged factory. Such incentives facilitate the development of supporting industries as well as cross-border trades. Another unique incentive scheme is called TISO, Trade and Investment Services Office, and such TISOs are also incentivized. TISOs provide services to manufacturers such as technical support, admin support, and business advices. It is a kind of shared services that help industrial activities in the country. In summary, I believe three key elements worked well in Thailand's case. First, clear incentive framework. The framework needs to be simple, well organized, and user-friendly. Second, direct on-site investment promotion to investors. Liaison office in Japan may be effective and can create more investment opportunities. Third, promotion of non-manufacturing sector investment. This will lead to and make easier further manufacturing sector investment. In closing, I trust that some of, if not all of, what I just talked about today will also applicable to and work in India. And we should look at what we really need here in India to increase Japanese investment into this promising country. We, as Japanese banks, are more than happy to be a part of this great initiative. This concludes my presentation, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Hisai-san. That was indeed very useful. And among the important takeaways for me from your presentation, the focus and the importance for us in India to look at the ease of doing business, not so much because we necessarily agree with all the parameters listed there, but for instance, the corporate tax rates. We have to be aware that whether it is investment from Japan or credit from Japanese banks, the corporates concerned, particularly because their profitability in India is not very high compared to some of our neighboring countries, we'll have to take a fresh look at some of these rates for foreign investors. The Indian rupee being not having performed too well, I would submit for your consideration that, if you look at it on a real effective exchange rate basis, in taking even productivity differentials into account, the rupee is overvalued. So you need to warn your clients and your companies that this is something which is inevitable in a country which has inflation rates where they are in India compared to Japan, which is zero inflation or even deflation at times. Now, before I throw the session open to everyone here to ask questions and make comments, I would request very pointed questions rather than long comments. And before I do that, I'll just leave a thought with the four panelists, and if they wish to comment in any way later on. The 800, well, one 800-pound gorilla, the other one only 50 or maybe 100 pounds, are these two new institutions, the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank and the BRICS New Development Bank. They did not come up in any way, naturally, because those are not institutions that you are directly involved with. But as far as India is concerned, these two new institutions, I think the BRICS Bank will be a bit of a it won't do much if they spread their range of activities together. So I'd leave that thought with the four panelists, and with that I'll throw the session open to everyone here. But may I request very brief, pointed, one-sentence questions, please. And if you wish, you can indicate which panelist. Otherwise, just ask your question. Thank you.
My question is for Hisai-san. The slide showed the profitability of Japanese enterprises in India circa 2013 to be 0.2%. Can you enumerate some of the factors which you may have seen as a banker as to what are the root causes of the low profitability or no profitability?
Well, actually, I've been in various countries in my life, professional life, and you know, in each country, I've been dealing with both local companies and then Japanese companies. In terms of Japanese companies, I was a little surprised to come here to see, I would say, more than half of our Japanese customers here in India are not making money. And that's, I knew, because when, you know, we as a bank, we have to grade our customers for the inspection purposes by our regulators. And looking at all the financial numbers and so forth, you know, more than 50% of our clients are not making money. And root cause, you know, there are various root causes, but when I talk with Japanese customers, the majority of them talk about the unexpected costs. Like, you know, taxes is one of them, and labor is not so much, but you know, other unexpected costs. For example, if the company comes in India and set up a facility or factory, and they have encountered various unexpected costs, which they did not experience in other countries. You know, water supply, electricity, you know, those are the, you know, basic things they expect to be there, but actually they were not. So they had to come up with, you know, additional expense.
You didn't mention rent seeking.
Not much so.
Not that much? Okay.
No.
Good to know.
Probably Kagita-san may have other some additional comments on that.
Yeah, almost same as what Hisai-san said. There are more additional costs, including tax, that will deteriorate or minimize profitability of investment. Although we feel lots of potentiality in these countries, lots of population area, but again, this is challenging what we are facing, I think. Thank you.
The gentleman there, please.
Yeah, I would like to continue the same question, but in a different context.
Could you identify yourself?
Yeah, I'm also a fellow banker, one of the third bank from Japan, Mizo Bank. This again, no, this again, it's a very interesting thing because today if you search Nikkei Shimbun, Nikkei newspaper, if you put a keyword Indo, 15 out of 12 entries will relate Indo with Eigyo Zoeki, means increased profit. India and increased profit, they go hand in glove. Now my question is, I also agree with what you said about the actual state of Japanese company. So is it more towards a bullish, futuristic sort of expectations that is building up in the press, or is it really things are changing because this data was a bit old and over a period Japanese companies have realized how to manage things here? What do you think is the current status? Thank you.
Please, please.
I think the atmosphere is changing. I think Maruti Suzuki is a very good example, although I had a chance to talk with the chairman of Suzuki a couple months ago in Tokyo, actually in Hamamatsu, their headquarters. Mr. Suzuki told me that everybody talks about Maruti Suzuki is a very success story, but it's been many, many years to be here today. For example, maybe we are making, $100 today, but we lost $99 so far. So incremental, just $1. What he was saying is, today's success is not necessarily, not causing the past losses. What he was saying, I did make efforts, and I was not the person who make money, just one day. It's been a while to come here, but I think all other Japanese companies are making efforts to be more profitable, and I think the other Japanese companies are learning from the lessons. And what we need here today is success examples. The more we have success cases, the more potential Japanese investors would come.